everybody. And hello to my panelists. Super excited to be here with everybody today. So I'm just going to dive right in. And I'm looking at you, Dina. So I've been a technologist for a very long time, and I am anti-buzzword. So I'm concerned that our lovely audience here may not be on the same page with us about what zero-party data is. Can you help?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really important topic to us at Staypineapple. We've taken a very clear stance on this. So zero-party data is really data that your guests give to you directly. They've provided it to you through a survey, through telling a front desk agent something, through telling the bartender something, through filling out a questionnaire, or whatever way in which you've gathered information about your guests. That's zero-party data. There's also a lot of really great hotel companies out there that are utilizing data that is sourced in other ways. They've found it through a third party, or they've sleuthed you in social media. Totally an acceptable way to go. It is not the choice that we have made as a brand. As a brand, we've decided that everything that we're going to use and everything that we're going to put in a guest profile is going to be directly from the guest. And that's really because we believe the relationship and the trust with the guest is so imperative that we want to make sure that they don't feel creeped out when we personalize their experience.
Thank you. Hopefully that clarifies it for everybody. I love to have a level playing field before we start the conversation. So Jen, now I'm looking at you, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are about, you mentioned trust and privacy and not creeping people out. So I'm wondering, are you seeing that travelers are more open or not in the current state of sharing that information? And how are independents using that information, like when it is shared that way?
Okay, good questions. So I think in terms of if guests are willing to give you this first party data, part of it depends on how you get it from them. So, I mean, we at Curator are firmly in the independent boutique space, and we feel like it is the perfect way to have a deeper relationship with our guests. So, you know, when you check into the property, there should be a conversation. Hopefully, like, you know, that's part of the hotel SOPs, and it's like, try to make sure it feels genuine, ask them about, you know, where they came from, what they're doing, you know, try to get as much data out of them as you can. And in a conversational way, there are other ways to get the data that can definitely be trustworthy. I mean, one example for me is, you know, I stayed at a hotel up in Del Mar in California, and directly the concierge emailed me, and it was great. It was very personalized about how I'd been there before. They knew I was traveling with my family, and that she gave me a list of questions, which on one hand you could think might be off-putting, but on the other hand, there's this implicit part of this that, well, if I answer all these questions, maybe I'm going to get something great out of it, right? So that's part of it too. And that will continue to strengthen the trust. Like if you solicit this first party data and information about the guest, and then you actually do something with it and you deliver on it, then they're more likely to keep giving you that information. And especially in the independent boutique space, you know, we're generally maybe one of one or one of a very small group. So they probably feel generally perfectly fine about giving us the information.
So what I'm hearing, and I want to make sure you guys all heard this, if you're going to take the time to ask people for something, use it. Right? Like they'll be more apt to give it to you because they see the ROI of the fact that they spent the time filling out your survey or answering your questions. So use that data. And Dina, I know you guys do this at Staypineapple. So how do you guys use the data that you get and also build trust at the same time?
So we have done this for the last 15 years of our history. We did it the old-fashioned way before. We literally sat in the lobby and listened to your conversations, trying not to be creepy, but overhearing, you know, what guests might be talking about. Again, discussion that you have with the bartender, or you start telling the front desk agent about your anniversary that's coming up, or whatever that information might be. And that gave us fodder and information for our team to go and surprise and delight and do something really great and amazing and over the top. What's really cool today is we did a major tech stack change out in 2024, and now our team has at their fingertips so much more information. And more importantly, they get it ahead of time. So they have time to prepare all those surprise and delights. So the team at every hotel gets a report each morning, and that report is for the next 7 days. And for guests that we have good, deep information about them, psychographics. I'm not talking about whether you like Diet Coke or Coke. I'm talking about whether you like cycling, you have a dog, or you have a cat, or, really information that is personal about you that we can do something with. And that information then is used by the team to provide those surprise and delight opportunities. But most importantly, that can be through your whole stay, right? So it's not on the third day when you happen to mention to the bartender that your anniversary was yesterday and we're like, crap, we missed it, right? Now we know that stuff. It's at our fingertips and we can action it. And I think the other really important point to Jen is there's also a responsibility to action it. So Bob, our COO, sitting in the audience, says to our team all the time, it's great to have all this data, but it creates an expectation. So make sure that you're doing something with it, because if you're not, then the guest is going to be disappointed.
And may not return. Right. There's a danger of that. John, I'm curious on your thoughts around how technology helps everything we're saying. And Dina touched on it a bit about her very large tech transformation over the last year and how it supported her. But what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I mean, they're a great brand to work with because they're so forward thinking to do that. Building AI agents, one of the biggest applications is behind the scenes to create all of those moments for your guest. And I think as people think about AI, oftentimes we're thinking about Optimus Prime behind the front desk, checking in your guest and the Terminator eye scanning them to make sure that they're them. And it's not there yet. I mean, they're going to kill us at some point, sure, but we're not there yet, right, to go through. But the biggest thing is that it allows you to get all of these deep, rich, points, that first party data, without ever truly asking for it. So for example, the surprise and delight of they like bicycles or they like this, simply by the guest interacting with them saying can I rent a bike while I'm there? That now indicates that that person likes bikes. When they arrive at the property in Seattle, even though they've never stayed there before, the bike is already waiting for them. So it allows you to really create these moments. And so as probably every one of these vendors and everyone attending is looking for AI, looking for doing this, there are so many different ways that it can be applied, but oftentimes the most valuable is behind the scenes. If you're doing it right and the properties like Staypineapple that are doing it very well, the guests never have any idea. They don't have any idea. It feels infinitely more personable because you're using that. So I think that's where the biggest application can tie into that experience.
So they don't feel like they're being interrogated to be able to stay at your property.
Right. Please fill out this survey. Yeah. Please fill out this.
Exactly.
What brings you here? And it's much more organic just having a conversation.
Like a conversation, like what we're having here today, right? We're just getting to know each other. So that's building relationships, which is what this whole industry is based on. So Brandon, tell me about some examples where you've seen people use the zero party data to create great experiences.
Yeah, I think what's really important is we've heard this theme of uncertainty, not just at this conference, but certainly for those of us who've gone to multiple conferences in the last 90 days. And we've talked about scalability. And I think one of the key pieces of zero party data is it's one of the few things right now in our industry that gives us both. Right? So in my world where there is the financial component and the check and balance system, the scalability can be, and I've seen it where at one of our properties in the past, a really true, strong social media follower of ours was so excited to come. And then the morning of, because of course we follow back and we toe the line of creepy, of course, from time to time, right? She mentioned how sad she was that she was going to be gone for 3 days without her cat. Well, we found a photo of her and her cat, had it framed, had a little fake paw print, and we did a "Hey, miss you, mom" type thing in her room when she got there. It's a small thing. You want to go mass scalability. We assisted what started with "Hey, we're coming, and I'm going to do the engagement." And you want to talk about pulling the thread, how that one small piece of information that we knew prior prompted our team to reach out, start assisting in planning. And it reached to, she was a big Taylor Swift fan, right? Who isn't at this point? And we had their song, their couple song, the lyrics on streamers that led to a hot air balloon that he ended up doing the engagement from. So when you talk about scalability, it can be a picture frame. It can be someone stepping into the lobby bar and having that drink started as they sit down. And it can be a hot air balloon. But it's the only data that we get that we know is true to its core. Yeah. And as we've struggled over the last probably 10 years in the world of big data, for us, especially in the independent and boutiques, really puts us at such a unique strategic advantage, even against the brands and their tools.
That's 100%. And I want to give a little plug while I'm sitting here, since we mentioned independent boutiques. The AHLA Independent Boutique Committee is growing and very strong, and we would love to have you involved. So,
a little call to action for all of you today. That's what we're about, is like taking action. So there was something that you all said, which I thought was amazing, which is around how you use that information to make the guests know that you knew they were there before. Like you heard they liked bikes, so the next time they showed up in Seattle, the bike was ready. How many people in the audience have ever been to a hotel and you checked in and they said, have you stayed with us before?
I have.
Marriott every time I check in. Sorry.
So what I would like to ask all of you, and Jen, I know you have an opinion on this because we talked about it just the other day, is how is that still happening? Because I just heard all these stories, and John, you're talking about how the tech just sort of seamlessly connects everything and the big check transformation. Why am I still getting asked this question when I checked in a hotel? Not a Staypineapple, but in other hotels.
Yeah, I just feel like it's endlessly disappointing. I mean, it just happened to me last week. A great hotel with a really great, seemingly really great operator, has all the tech you would ever need. And I've been to this hotel probably like 5 or 6 times. And have you been here before? Or where are you coming in from? And it's just such a bummer and a disappointment, like I said. So I don't know where the breakdown is exactly for that property, but it can be, in one or many different places. So like I said, the technology is there. So are they not utilizing all of the pieces of their PMS system that exist? So for example, they should certainly have the capability to either have AI do it or through the PMS itself. Like, who are all of our check-ins, some details about them. Same thing with the checkouts that day, so that they can familiarize themselves with who's coming, right? That's so basic. It could be, are the guest profiles not there? That would be kind of hard to believe, something as basic as, having stayed there before. And the other piece may just be, is the operator at the corporate level or at the property level, are they just not making it a priority? Like, what is the training for the front, the guest-facing employees, especially at the front desk? Like, how are they trained? What are they, basically told? What are the priorities? How do we want this check-in experience to be? And if, guest recognition, any kind of little detail, plus getting as much first-party data or zero-party data as you can, if those aren't priorities, it's probably a pretty big fail.
Yeah.
Dina, I know you're nodding. I know you have an opinion about the training part.
Yeah, I think you have to start with culture. Tech can do a lot for you, but if you don't have a culture of people that want to surprise and delight guests every day, putting all of the information about a guest in front of them is going to do nothing. You have to have a combination of the technology and the people. If we put all those wonderful profiles in front of our team and they had no creativity about how to surprise and delight people, they're going to do nothing with it, right? And that is all really around empowering your people to do the things that they know how to do. I say it all the time, and I think it's controversial, but there are no hoteliers in this room. The hoteliers work at the hotels, right? They work at the front desk. They work in housekeeping. They work in the restaurant and the bar. We're not hoteliers. and you need to empower your hoteliers to do their job. I say every day at work, get out of their way and stop trying to put processes and procedures. I am against SOPs, to Bob's consternation, our COO. Don't limit people, let them be creative, and utilize all this zero-party data for something interesting. I don't want a Diet Coke in my room because I like Diet Coke. I want somebody to know that I miss my dog, and they put a picture in my room of my puppy because it would probably make me cry.
Can I just, Melissa, just really quick? We've gone through a lot of this cycle of standardization is the best thing, standardization is the worst thing. And then it always gets, in my opinion, it always gets this independent boutique versus brand, and that's where we're different. When the brands continue, and having worked on both sides, the brands continue that standardization of FFE, OSE, those type of things. We still like that. But now you're seeing that break in the SOP structure, the training. The reason somebody will ask you in a brand setting, have you been here before, is because it's in a pre-printed 3-ring binder that they saw from 10
Part
years
of the
ago.
script, right?
Correct.
It's just
So
part of a script.
I think it's breaking that standardization. That's where zero-party data leads the way towards breaking that cycle long-term for us on an industry macro level.
So enough process to keep your brand standards intact, but enough empowerment so that people can be creative
Absolutely.
and genuine and authentic. Data is not enough. That's what I'm hearing loud and clear. Data is not enough, but we have so much of it. So now, John, I'd like to understand, how does all the integrated systems in the background help with all of these problems? Or does it?
I think the culture is the biggest part of it, right? Like you need the culture for the people to deliver it, right? And Bob will talk about, like, again, you could have all of this data, right? But it's just getting dusty. It's sitting back there. And I think the biggest thing that we see is, you're right, we over-scripted people, right? And they're new, and I do that with my team too, right? Where they're overly scripted and they don't grow beyond it. So they're going through that playbook that they learned a year or 2 years ago. And the reason why they're asking, have you stayed with us before, is because it's awkward to stand there silently as they're doing, hey, you been here before? Like, so they just don't know how to fill that void with like the radio silence, right? So they're very uncomfortable. And so they say that. And the things that they're doing that is creating that void can almost all be replaced by AI. Like, that's what AI can do. It can mark them as checked in. It can interoperate with different systems. So it can connect to different systems. And the biggest thing about AI, and again, as we talk about that, is, again, many people, I've had conversations this week that are just like, I'm staying away from it. I'm kind of like hoping it goes away. It's not. Like, the genie is out of the bottle. But also they look at it like, the AI is not making your team smaller. It's making your team smarter. So you don't have to fire front desk agents to have AI. And I encourage you not to. But what it allows them to do is do all those tasks that are in the SOPs that are like, update the status, assign the room, do all this. All the mechanical stuff can be done automatically. So now when they're face-to-face with that person, they can say, well, what brings you back? Right. You know, and then now they can engage with them, because they're not, you know, they're trying to do two things at once, right? They're trying to be like, I don't want to get yelled at by Bob if I didn't capture all this information and I get this. But then I'm like, well, I got to be nice. And so they're, you know, they're often young in their career, right? Or they're trying to learn this stuff. So that's where it's a pairing of the two, of like, have them work in conjunction. Like, don't think about like replacing staff members. Think about like, what if I gave them an assistant to do all the things that they don't like to do, but are important to the company? Now, can I foster that culture to say, hey, and then that just comes down to front desk managers rewarding the people to do that, you know, do celebrating, you know, team meetings and stand-ups, and, hey, really good job with this. And this person wrote us a great review because of that. I thought Brandon was going to say we went and kidnapped the cat and then put it in the room, which I thought, that you talk about shock and awe. Right. Now we're doing it. Now let's go full bore, right? Like, don't do a half measure, right? Or, you know, put a stray cat in there and then it like rips up the curtains when it comes in. Surprise, you know, like, so it just allows you to like, okay, there's a lot of things that as an operator you have to do to run the business, right? You have to do those things, but tech can be applied there. So allow the tech to do all the operator stuff on the back end, but your team to be the face of your brand or your guest journey. Like allow them to be the face and be creative and be smart. And now they're not looking down at the computer to do this. And, you remember that scene from Meet the Fockers when he's checking into the airport. It's like, just a minute. And they're just doing all these things. That can all be done. So now I can just have a conversation, and more properties that we work with are even kind of getting rid of the front desk in the sense that they just have a tablet and they tell them, hey, come sit down on the couch and let's have a conversation. And that front desk is an inherent physical barrier too. So, just non-linear thinking about how you can do that, where now you're not tied to, that front desk.
Yeah, remove transaction and friction so you can build relationships.
And use AI and tech to empower your staff so that they can do things they love and that they want to do, instead of all the SOP boring things that no one wants to write down and then they never read it again anyway, right?
Yeah, and think about your employee happiness. Your employees will be so much happier and love their job and stay because they don't have to do all the crap they don't like.
Yeah. And how many people have had a bad service experience because someone didn't love their job? I have. Right? And you're like, oh, you don't like it here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you don't like your job. So Jen, my question to you is, if AI and tech can help all of this, do you have examples of where that has actually worked in the independent market that you could share?
Yeah, I think I don't want to repeat what everyone has said to so far, but certainly AI can help with all of these interactions with guests. I think stepping away from the data point of view, we've been testing the AI agents that are guest facing. Deep research in them to pick the right ones. They sound pretty good. People are pretty full these days, but it's all meant, again, to go back to your point, it's not meant to start cherry picking and getting rid of people. It's not meant to reduce our workforce. Still, this day and age, and maybe it's some of you, maybe you'd be surprised how many people still call the front desk for really, really simple things. So we've been testing these AI agents for both the internal calls that come to the front desk, but usually the main phone line, will ring to the front desk at some point. And it can take the load down by 80% because usually it's very simple requests. And we listen to the calls to make sure they're doing the right thing, saying the right thing. They get better and better over time. And that means the front desk isn't dealing with a line in front of them and not able to give that interaction we want them to because they have a line, plus the phone is ringing off the hook and they're saying, oh, excuse me, and then putting that person on hold, or the phone's just ringing and no one's satisfied. So that's the main thing that in that space where we've just tried to take the load off our team members, and they can hopefully be happier and focus on the things that we feel like are more important.
Yeah, I love that. Brandon, question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you measure this? So we're talking about all these great experiences. We're leveraging technology to empower our people to deliver these great experiences. How do you measure the ROI on that? Is it loyalty? Is it return business? Like, how do we know that it's working?
In many ways, it's all of the above. And it's especially at the C-suite where we're sitting, every single one of us can look at it differently. So when we look at investing in the tech stack, especially if you're doing it externally versus an internal build, my CFO is right here in my ear, right, at all points. And oftentimes, sorry to any CFOs in the room, they're telling you why it's not going to work in the investment dollar. Operations, it's all about the efficiency levels, the GSS scores, and loyalty growth. What I have found, and we're picking on poor Bob, so I'm sure he feels the same way, when with your CEOs, your COOs, it is a long-term vision. And if you as a senior leadership team can align that there are multiple benchmarks that satisfy every single stakeholder, that is the best way to do it. And then with zero-party data and the correct implementation of it, the adaption of the tech stack that we find has very quick ROI on the line level staff. And Dina and I have talked about this over the years, but that's where I go. If I want to know an answer to something, I'm going to our front desk staff. And that's with their happiness, I think, is an understated ROI piece that is felt by senior level leaders. So it's a multifaceted approach for sure.
Yeah, can I answer
Yeah,
too?
you might.
I think we look at our employee survey and look to see growth in how is what I do every day make a difference to the purpose and the value of Staypineapple Hotels. And if we are increasing that year over year, then I know we're doing a good job with what we're creating with our technology, because it's improved the team members' day-to-day workflow and their, again, happiness score. That you cannot underestimate the happiness score for your team. Mr. Marriott taught me 100 years ago when I worked at Marriott that if you take care of your team members, they will take care of your guests. I know it's a really old statement, but it means something. And then I think above that, yeah, we look at our guest satisfaction scores, and we're seeing improvement year over year since we took on this new strategy. And I am 100% sure that it is a direct line relationship to everything that we've invested in and all the time and effort our team has put into implementing it.
So it's sort of that thing when you want to make a change in the world, start in your home first. So look inside first in your organizations and make sure that people inside that work with you and for you are happy, so that your customers are happy. Yeah. So we're nearing the end of our time. So I'm going to do a rapid fire. We'll start with you, Dina. What's one thing, because I like to raise the level of conversation to meet action here, so everyone in this room can take away something. What's one thing that our audience could do differently tomorrow because of zero-party data?
Collect your guest data from all your sources and get it in the hands of the people that matters, when it matters. Time, the right people at the right time.
It's hard to beat that answer. I guess for those of you who aren't using it or saw in the agenda or heard it today the first time of zero-party data, start using it. As I mentioned before, this is one of the very few nuggets in our business that is scalable from moment one, and it is as truthful and provides great clarity as you're going to get from the people who matter, even outside of our guests, but with our staff as well.
Yeah, we're going last. We got hosed on this one. They had all the two great answers here. What's going
fair.
on? I would just say with AI, just reframing that it's all gas or all brakes. And that's probably the biggest conversation that I've had with people is, I'm afraid it's going to do everything or not anything. And think of it not as staff replacement. Think of it not as like that, but like, how can it be an assist? Like, are there areas, and begin to look at it, because it is advancing at a pace we have not seen since like the internet. Boom, right, to go through there. At our company, we're deploying updates daily, like is how fast it's going. So it will change day over day, but just look at it of like, it's not all gas or all brakes. It doesn't need to be all or nothing. There's different ways that you could work with it, and just start to educate yourself around that, and then really leverage it as an assistant to your staff and not a replacement.
And I'll be quick. I mean, just to piggyback, of course, off what Dina said, it's have the conversations with your property teams about the concept. I mean, zero-party data to me was still fairly new and wasn't necessarily used widely. Like, have the conversation exactly what it is, how we can get our hands on it, why it's so important, because it's so accurate, and challenge them to do something with it, take action on it, and reward them for doing so.
Awesome. Well, we're just about at time. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you for sharing this conversation with us today.